Muslims, primarily Pashtuns, who were fighting over the entire border issue with Pakistan and Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda saw that and they took advantage of that. Not many people know that. So what happens is, after the US leaves, if let's say if we were to say that, the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda will come to the point where they'll differentiate amongst each other. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to every Afghan will think about, okay, you know what? We wanted America to leave, right? That's why we were doing we were fighting the entire world. They have left now. So what are we doing now? Why are we still fighting? Why are we still killing each other? It's not going to happen. It's going to take time. I'm not going to be saying that, America leaves and everything is wow. Except, no, that's not going to happen. It's going to take time, but you do have to think about it this way that most of the Taliban who are fighting right now, primarily in the northern Afghanistan, in southern Afghanistan, it's not that their mindset is completely different. They see it as we're fighting the Americans and the America needs to leave. But once that happens, they will see that it's time for us to redevelop our communities. It's time for us to focus on Afghanistan, to focus on rebuilding, bringing education. And I feel like as a young Afghan, I have that trust still, despite everything that's happened, that will happen over time. It's a process. It will not just happen right away. So I think you have to be very careful to differentiate between the two groups, what the purpose of Taliban is, and also it's important when we went back to the other question, what is it that, what will it take us for us to change the minds of our representatives? Well, the only reason, like you said, we need to see this war as a political war. And in order for that to happen, we need to let go of the fear of Al-Qaeda. We need to let go of that fear. That fear is like a monster within the US. So for that fear, every time you turn the TV on, you fear your security. And as long as you fear your security, you're gonna not persuade your representative to let go of the war. Because that's how we're taught. That's what we're told through our media. It's like it's this ideological war between, Muslims and Christians, and if we were to pull out Afghanistan, a second, God forbid, 9/11 will happen. As long as that fear is there, we're not going to be able to change the mind of our representatives. That's how I see it.
I think there's also a substantial presence of the Taliban in Pakistan. The United States gave Pakistan, under the reign of Pervez Musharraf, while George Bush Jr. was in power for two successive administrations, $11 billion. And $8 billion of that went directly to the Pakistani military. Pakistan's military owns the pharmaceutical industry, the sugar industry, the textile industry, huge tracts of land. There are desperately poor people in Pakistan who want to see their kids fed. The Taliban will come into a poor village. They'll say to the women, send us your sons, your little boys. We'll give them education, we'll teach them language, we'll give them a clean change of clothes and 2 meals a day. And we'll kick those ruthless moneylenders who have been swindling you for generations right out of the community. We'll impose Sharia law, which won't tolerate the landlords who cheated you for generations, and you'll be able to get ahead. Well, some of the women who maybe are most at risk of the Taliban treating them harshly will be saying yes to the husbands and brothers and uncles. Why don't you support them? It's kind of like a Robin Hood motif. So part of the way to deal with the Taliban in an impoverished area is to help people get out from under grinding poverty that has gone on from generation to generation. Now, I'm not saying that we should be sending aid and creating non-governmental organizations and making people dependent on the United States. But I do think that we could be paying reparations, or at any rate, not giving billions and billions and billions of dollars to the military structures. I mean, right now the United States in Afghanistan is planning to create these RBP, the tiny little militias in every single one of the 10,000 villages. This is Petraeus' plan. It's like a prescription for civil war. He wants to create these civil defense groupings, and basically they're taking the toughest strong arms in a neighborhood, putting uniforms on them, giving them weapons, and then saying, okay, now we've solved the problem. So I think it's naive of us to think that we're going to create a solution by perpetuating 3 years of that Taliban takeover, had the United States, I mean, okay, Zbigniew Brzezinski was so happy that the Soviets went into Afghanistan. He said, oh good, they've got their Vietnam. And when the Soviets pulled out, the United States could have said, hey, we can now extend a hand of friendship here. We sat back and watched. Do you want to say something to that?
Yeah, I think it kind of, I think we skipped over the entire Mujahideen era and what happened after the Soviets were gone. We're like, okay, good, they're gone, and we're gone too. If you watch, I think Charlie Wilson's War, that's like the best one that I've seen so far. So we kind of let them, and didn't extend our friendship. So that procreated the Taliban and the Taliban movement. But you also have to think about it in the beginning, and not that I agree with any of their agendas of Taliban's, but in the beginning, when the movement started, it was a movement to bring stability into Afghanistan, to put all the groups together, to bring security into Afghanistan before Al Qaeda got involved. That's what you have to keep in mind.
And of course, why did the United States know where to bomb the Taliban camps? Because the United States built those camps.